Rigby's Roads, Chapter 3, Not Your Average Bear. It was Sunday morning. 1 week had passed since that fateful day when Jack's life was turned around. The newspaper headlines followed the story during the week. Policeman shot, dies in routine traffic stop. They did mention that the possibility of other suspects that may have left the scene was part of a continuing investigation. Later, articles questioned why Pesto did not call on the traffic stop for a backup, which was mandatory. Links between Pesto and Billy were brought up as he had arrested him 2 times in the past. No witnesses came forward, but more importantly, Jack was relieved that no second car was mentioned. For Jack, little had changed with the problems he was experiencing, but looking at that line on his table every day seemed to put him in a different frame of mind. As he went outside for the morning paper, the idiot in the red car with the loud racing engine zoomed by. You could set your watch by him. 8 in the morning and 5:45 in the afternoon. He would fly down the street. He wished he could teach this guy a lesson about speeding. It was a painful reminder of the accident that took his wife's life. While looking for the morning paper, Jack stepped in dog shit again. It was almost impossible to walk on his front lawn without getting tagged. At the corner of his property near the sidewalk, he saw a golden retriever finish his brown sculpture. The dog gave him one of those looks as if to say, "Hey, when you gotta go, you gotta go." Jack, realizing that he had no paper again, went inside and called for another one. As he prepared for breakfast, he looked for inspiration from his list of 50, as he had titled it. He now had 38 things on it, adding more to the list each day. Today, he was going to write a letter to the editor of the newspaper and get it printed. It was number 29 on his list. The list of 50 had changed dramatically from when Wheels helped him start it to when he began adding his own things. Wheels made him add things like go skydiving, visit an adult bookstore and buy something, make it with 2 women at the same time, and take a piss on the Great Wall of China. It was obvious that these were written down after the second 6-pack of beer that night. He would read them over and over again and laugh, knowing he would never do those things, but they made his boring life seem a little more interesting with the realization that they were on his list. Jack looked back and reviewed the past week. At work, he started making small conversations with the young woman who sat in the cubicle in the next row. They could not see each other as their cubicle walls separated their views. Her name was Bonnie. She was about 30, wore glasses and frumpy-looking clothes, was pleasantly plump in the right places, and had a beautiful face and blonde hair. Jack was always partial to big, beautiful women, but he only had one-way talks with her, as she was the quietest person he had ever met. She never said much, but Jack started to say more than hello to her as he passed her in the hall or at the printer. He tried goofy things to say, like, "Boy, with these high winds, I don't think I'll be going skydiving today," trying to get her to smile. But she would only half smile and nod her head. He decided to bring some cheer into her life, so each morning he picked some wildflowers from the parking lot and put them in her pencil cup. He wasn't going to tell her they were from him. He decided to play the secret admirer routine to see what would happen. He liked her because she reminded him of himself and what he had gone through the last few years. Just like him, she was unreachable, somewhat antisocial, and needed a friend to cheer her up. Her wall seemed bigger to break down than his own. Jack had added another item to his list of 50, to ask Bonnie out on a date, a challenge that he assumed was as achievable as peeing on the Great Wall of China. But it became a game for him to bring her out of her depressed shell, a place he was all too familiar with only a few days ago. Jack was now trying to find purpose again and started slowly regaining his old self. One Saturday morning, he finished his letter to the corporate staff of the Denver Aquarium, complaining about the closing. He attacked the problem as if it was a work assignment. He pointed out that the aquarium that was going bankrupt could be linked to every Girl Scout and Boy Scout group in the state to earn some type of merit badge for marine life study, and they could let them in for a discounted price that would still generate money to help keep the aquarium alive. They could also tie into the public school system and let all the students have field trips to learn about marine biology firsthand, which would also bring in more money. They could rent out rooms adjacent to the giant tanks for wedding parties and other events. The giant tank windows would make a great backdrop for pictures. They could rent out the place for large charity events, charging less than others would for similar space, and generate money for the unused building at night. The local colleges could set up working internships for the students taking related courses, and a steady group of college students could ease the costs of some highly paid employees that were draining the profits of the dying aquarium. In the distance, a roaring noise that grew louder and louder interrupted his train of thought. Jack looked outside the front window and saw a parade of motorcycles coming down the street, pulling into his driveway and parking along the curb. There must have been 40 of them, and he spotted Wheels parking his bike next to the front porch. Jack opened the front door and walked down the porch steps. He noticed all his neighbors either outside or spying on the action through their window blinds. The boys next door stood there with their mouths open in amazement as Wheels walked up to Jack and gave him a big hug. One by one, the bikers approached Jack for a handshake, some of them even hugging him and thanking him for saving Wheels' life, even though they didn't even know the details of what really happened. The neighbors stared in disbelief as the parade of bikers congregated and proceeded to have a gathering on his front lawn. A small biker about 5'6" named Pinky, with shoulder-length hair, was handing out playing cards, one to each person. Wheels turned to Jack. "It's a poker run, and you're the first of 5 stops." "What's a poker run?" Wheels smiled, then changed the subject. "I need a favor from you." Jack's heart pounded with fear of what he might hear next. "There's someone I want you to meet." Wheels gestured through the crowd for someone to approach them. A biker rode up close to the porch with a passenger on the back. The passenger was a kid who looked to be about 15 years old. He was talking on his cell phone. Wheels looked at Jack and he pointed at the kid. "Jack, I want you to meet Yogi. Yogi, this is Jack." "Hi, Yogi," Jack acknowledged, looking bewildered. Yogi nodded from the back of the bike as he finished his phone conversation. Yogi was a skinny kid, jet black hair, dressed in long baggy shorts with multiple pockets, and a denim jacket with torn-off sleeves covered with patches and pins from all the motorcycle events and rallies that he had attended. Wheels pulled Jack aside. "I need you to let Yogi stay here for a few days. He's no trouble at all, and you'd be doing me a big favor." Before he could say anything, Yogi jumped off the back of the bike and pointed to the other bikers that had large duffel bags strapped to the back of their bikes. Yogi then redirected his finger, pointing to the house. They understood, as if they had been through this routine many times before. They carried in 5 duffel bags. Some were much heavier than others, judging from the way they carried them. Within a few minutes after their arrival, the gang mounted their bikes and they revved up their engines. The noise was deafening as they drove off to continue on their poker run. The neighbors, still staring in amazement, seemed to be frozen with fear and wonderment as the parade left as quickly as it had arrived. Jack thought somebody was missing because there was still one Harley left in his driveway. He looked at Yogi. "Is this yours?" "Nope, it's yours," Yogi smiled. "What do you mean it's mine?" he questioned him, half laughing. "It's a present from Wheels for saving his life. It's a 1200 Sportster Custom." Jack had a confused look on his face. "But Wheels never said anything about that, and he left without saying a word." "That's how he is sometimes," Yogi replied. He's a very generous man, and he doesn't like getting attention for it. Jack stared at the beautiful motorcycle with its fancy paint job and lots of chrome. He looked closer at the gas tank. It was bright metal flake red with white letters that said, "One of 50 things." Jack smiled, shook his head, and reported, "It's been about 30 years since I've been on a bike." "That's what I'm here for," Yogi explained. "I'm going to help you study for the test." "What test?" "You have to get a motorcycle license and take a riding test, and I'm going to help you with that." "But I can't accept this. It must have cost a lot of money. How can he afford to buy me something like this? Is it stolen?" Yogi smiled. "I guess you don't know that Wheels owns the Harley dealership off of I-25. Believe me, he can afford it." "But it's brand new," Jack said, still astonished. "Yeah, Wheels knows how to return a favor. Open the garage and let's put it away." Yogi hopped on the bike and cranked it up for the short ride into the garage, and he nodded to the kids next door who were still standing in amazement with their mouths open. They nodded back as if they were in a trance. Once inside the house, Yogi checked out the rooms, and Jack told him, "You can stay in Johnny's room, the bedroom upstairs to the right. Johnny's my son. He's in Okinawa in the Marines." Yogi interrupted with, "Does it have a phone, Jack?" Jack replied, "No phone, but you have a cell phone, don't you?" Yogi replied, "You don't understand. I'm not looking for a phone. I'm looking for a phone jack to hook up to my computer." "Oh no, that room never had a phone in it." "Okay, I guess I'll set up in there." Yogi pointed to Jack's den that he used as his office. Jack said nothing, as the kid captured the room like he was setting up a military operation. He watched as Yogi connected 2 computers to a larger box. Jack was confused. "What's that?" "It's my personal server. It allows me to get things done much faster." Yogi pulled out a mini satellite dish from a bag and looked out the den's window. "We'll have to put this right here on this side of the house because it lines up with the link in space." Jack sat in amazement as this young kid hooked up a supercomputer that would be the envy of a big corporation. "Yogi is an unusual name. Are you named after Yogi Berra, the Yankee catcher?" Yogi smiled as he continued to work. "I'm a 3rd-generation biker. My grandpa was in Hollister and watched that photographer set up that fake picture." "What picture?" "The picture from 1947 that gave bikers a bad name. I'll show you when I get this all set up. Anyway, his name was Papa Bear, my dad was Big Bear, and they called me Baby Bear till I was 4, which I hated and didn't want to get stuck with. It was a standing joke that when they introduced new club members to me, they would say, 'And say hello to Baby Bear.' As soon as the new person said the words Baby Bear, I would kick him right in the balls, which made everyone laugh except the poor bastard who doubled over in pain. I would yell, 'Yogi, my name is Yogi.' I changed my name to Yogi, after Yogi Bear, the cartoon, because I liked how he schemed to steal the picnic baskets. I didn't want to get tagged with Boo Boo Bear, so I hung Yogi on myself, and it stuck right away." Yogi turned on the computers, and everything started humming. This kid was in charge, and he was taking over the den as the center of operations. Jack needed to know, "So how long are you going to stay here?" Yogi turned to look at him. "I read your suicide note. Uncle Bob gave it to me," he said softly. Jack was embarrassed. "You read my letter? Who is Uncle Bob?" "That's Wheel's real name, Bob Johnson. He's raised me since I was 5 when my dad bit it." "Bit it?" "Yeah, a car turning left in front of him as he was approaching an intersection on his Softail. It's the #1 cause of motorcycle deaths in the country. Cars turning left in front of bikes." "And what about your mom?" "I haven't seen her since I was 4, when Dad was killed. Mom took it real hard and she changed and went off the deep end. Drugs and stuff, I was told. But one day she disappeared from my life, and I haven't seen her since. Now I stay home and keep pretty much to myself." "What about school?" "I was bored. Skipped too many classes, and Uncle Bob was tired of going to meetings with the principal and the guidance counselors, so I dropped out." "You can't drop out. There's a truancy law." "You're right, there is. But I made a deal with Uncle Bob. If I could pass the GED, which I did, and then take college courses equivalent to earning a college degree, which I have, then he would look the other way. How could you do that? That doesn't excuse the school system and truant officers. You're only, 15? Yogi moved his chair to the keyboard and started banging away on the keys with super speed. I have that covered with fake records. Here, look at this. It was his high school records, showing he graduated the 10th grade and listing his subject grades. His fake records even had excused absences. I can create or change anything, so I created the illusion that I still go to school. But the teachers will see that and know you're not there. No, they think I transferred to some school in Florida. I fixed it so I can see my records, and the county school board can see them, but the teachers can't. So, in 2 years, I will graduate legally, and I will have earned an education record in the school system. I have already passed my GED using a fake name because I'm not legally old enough to take it yet. Jack was upset that this kid was cheating himself and bypassing everybody in the school system. Yogi tapped on the keyboard and the screen changed. While I'm here, I have this agenda to complete. My job is to make all these problems go away, he said as a matter of fact. Jack looked at the list in shock. Wheels gave this kid the suicide note, and the computer screen highlighted all of Jack's problems into neatly organized bullet points, and a few other things were added, but he didn't get to read them as Yogi hit a key and the screen went blank. Jack was concerned as to the limit this mini terror might exceed. What do you mean by make them go away? Yogi smiled. Don't worry, I don't push anything beyond the it'll get investigated point. I know exactly where that point is and when the red flag goes up, and I stay right behind it. Jack debated that statement with, well, I'm concerned about how certain people might react and make things worse. You are kind of young to understand the psyche of... Yogi interrupted him in a raised, irritated voice. Back off, Jack. He had a new look of determination and focus as he stared directly into Jack's eyes. I have crunched more years and have more experience in social and antisocial behavior than most people on this planet, and I have a degree in psychology from Stanford University. Jack came back with an unbelieving, no you don't. Then he saw the menacing look on Yogi's face that made him uneasy, so he added the word, how? I did it online, with an assumed name, fake ID, and fake credentials. Yogi started to grill Jack. Do you have a degree in psychology? Do I need a plaque on my wall that says I completed it? Have I absorbed the multifunctionality of various degrees of modern psychosis? The answers are no, no, and yes. Jack was stunned by the tone and the body language that Yogi was throwing at him. Yogi continued his tirade. You see, the difference between you and me, Jack, is that I choose to be happy. I choose to be challenged. I don't go with the hand that is dealt to me. I choose to be in control of my own destiny. I take the roads less traveled. You, on the other hand, are a pushover. You are not in control of your life. You only play with the cards that are dealt to you, and you're not happy. A fork in the road for you is not a decision point, but rather a magnet towards familiarity. So before you go evaluate my life, take a look at your own. You need to put things into perspective. Set new and exciting goals for yourself. Challenge your mental limitations and go left instead of right. Say yes instead of no. And there it was. An orphaned biker kid, who Jack had first felt sorry for, was more in control of his life than he was. The kid was giving him lessons of life, and for the first time he felt lost and found at the same moment. It was indeed a turning point, a slap in the face, the wake-up call he needed. But to hear it from this punk kid was disturbing and unreal. As quickly as he exploded, Yogi's attitude took a change of diplomacy, and he never let on like it bothered him. For the rest of the afternoon, he took Jack on a ride through the internet, starting at 1903 with the birth of Harley-Davidson, their role in World War I and World War II, the picture from Hollister, Hell's Angels, the invasion of the Japanese bikes in the 60s, and how the Harley-Davidson executives bought the company back from AMF and turned it into the powerhouse it is today. He detailed the difference between a Fat Boy and a Dyna Wide Glide, and the Road King and the Electric Glide, and of course, Jack's Sportster came in various sizes and types. He was being tutored by a professional, and the subject and material was fascinating. Yogi clicked through the websites at a furious pace and explained, "That picture from Hollister was taken in July 1947 and appeared in Life magazine. A goofy-looking guy with a beer in each hand, sitting in a half-slanted position on a Harley, gave the impression that that was the biker mentality. But the truth, as Yogi described it, was that his grandfather, Papa Bear, was in the picture also. That's his right elbow, right there on the left," he said excitedly. "He told me that the photographer set the guy up to sit on the bike, and then he put the beer bottles in his hands and placed the other bottles under the bike, and then took the picture." Yogi was on a roll, and the conversation started to go back and forth. Jack inquired, "What's a poker run?" "That's when you pick 5 different stops on a map within a 100-mile radius. Everybody puts in $10, and at each stop you get 1 playing card. At the end of the ride, at the 5th stop, everybody compares hands, and the one with the best poker hand wins a prize. It's a fun way to raise money for charity and have a great ride at the same time." "I've always heard the word HOG. What does that stand for?" "That's the Harley Owners Group. Uncle Bob will go over that when you sign your papers." "What papers?" "You need the paperwork for your motorcycle, for proof of ownership." Yogi continued his tutoring of Jack as if there was going to be a test at the end. The kid knew his stuff, and he delivered the lessons like a dissertation. There was no doubt that Yogi was an extraordinary, intelligent kid. The next morning, when Jack woke up, Yogi was still on the computer. He had been working all night. Each computer screen had something different on it. Jack started to open the front door to get the paper, but Yogi called to him. "I have your paper right here." He walked towards Yogi and looked for the paper. "Where?" "Right here." Yogi pointed to the computer screen. "I don't want to read the online version of the paper. I want to read my paper. Once again, Yogi pointed to the screen. "I told you, it's right here." Jack looked closer. It was a picture of a guy in jogging clothes, stealing his newspaper from his front lawn. "How the heck did you—" Yogi interrupted him. "I set up my video camera on your porch last night and waited till this morning. See here?" He slowly zoomed in on the guy's face. "Do you know this guy?" "No, I never saw him before." Jack's forehead wrinkled in a puzzled look. Yogi informed him. "His name is Richard Marshall. He lives down the street on the next block." "How do you know that?" "I followed him home. Don't worry, he didn't see me. It might be a coincidence that he stole your paper today, or he might be the one who does it all the time. We'll verify that with the next theft. And if it's the same guy, I'll take care of it." Jack became nervous. "Take care of it? What are you going to do?" "Leave that up to me. I have a few ideas. Oh, and from now on, when you come into the house or leave the house and you see Jerry and his friends—" Jack interrupted. "Who?" "Jerry, the kid next door. I had a long talk with him last night. He's all right. He apologized for that bullshit that he caused you, and he promised to make things right. But now, when you come home or go out, and he's out in the yard, you need to give him one of these." Yogi nodded his head slightly, and Jack was waiting for more. "One of these what?" "One of these," Yogi repeated, and he nodded his head again. "Don't say, 'Hi, Jerry,' or 'How you doing?' Simply nod your head once and go about your business." Jack was worried. "What did you say to him?" "I told him the truth. You are not someone to be messed with, and your friends in the Harley Denver chapter came to pay their respect to you yesterday. So remember, just a nod. No waves, no words, nothing else. Anything after the nod takes away from the mystique." He nodded to Yogi as if he was practicing. It did have some kind of respectful air about it. "Were you in my upstairs bathroom last night? I went to shave this morning and I'm missing my razors." Yogi turned and explained. "Jack, I think it's time you grew a beard." "Me? But I'd look terrible in a beard." "Maybe. But I have to give Uncle Bob a report tomorrow, and it'll look good for me if I can say you're growing a beard. A report? You're kidding, right? Yogi ignored his question and announced, Tonight, I want an update on your boss. Your suicide note had mentioned Tom Tompkins. He's the guy taking advantage of you, right? Yes, he's my immediate boss. Wait a minute, what are you going to do? I can't lose my job. I need it right now. Yogi stretched out his arm with 2 booklets in his hand. Here, take these and read them. It's your book for your motorcycle license and the student workbook for your writer's course. We'll go over it tonight. End chapter 3.